The next clip we're listening to is actually from Peter Thiel talking specifically about how AI is bad for people with math skills and actually great for people who are verbose, who have great verbal skills, written, spoken, etc.
My intuition would be it's going to be quite the opposite, where it seems much worse for the math people than the word people. And what people have told me is that they think within 3 to 5 years, the AI models will be able to solve all the U.S. Math Olympiad problems, and that would shift things quite a bit. Silicon Valley in the early 21st century, it's way too biased towards the math people. I don't know if it's a French Revolution thing or a Russian sort of Straussian secret cabal control thing where you sort of prioritize it. But that's the thing that seems deeply unstable, and that's what I would bet on getting reversed. Where it's like, isn't it like the place where math ability, it's the thing that's the test for everything, right? It's like if you want to go to medical school, okay, we weed people out through physics and calculus, and I'm not sure that's really correlated with your your dexterity as a neurosurgeon. I don't really want someone operating on my brain to be doing prime number factorizations in their head while they're operating on my brain or something like that. And so in the late 80s, early 90s, I had sort of a chess bias because I was a pretty good chess player. And so my chess bias was you should just test everyone on chess ability. And that should be the gating factor. Why even do math? Why not just chess? And that got undermined by the computers in 1997. And isn't that what's going to happen to math? And isn't that a long overdue rebalancing of our society?
It's good, right? So a couple of things to kind of segue off of that, but this is where the trades in blue collar are still very attractive, especially to the next generation, right? Because they're realizing like, oh, wow, that white collar, go be a developer, go get in finance. That's not as secure or unique as I maybe once had thought. And so it's still hard for somebody to know how to, no matter how much money Peter Thiel has, when his HVAC unit goes out, he's calling an HVAC guy, right? So we're talking about a guy with $1 billion in his Roth IRA, right? Because he invested right in PayPal and Facebook. So the power of creating content, the power of having a unique voice, the power of written word, the ability to prompt these AI engines or adopt these tools, who can adopt the fastest, is ultimately who's going to win in the next era of business.
Right.
We've talked about it countless times, but the boomers are on the way out. So old hat business ownership and entrepreneurship is halfway out the door. All the boomers will be over the age of 65 by the time 2030 hits. So in the next 6 years, you're going to see a massive, massive adoption. There's this concept called the S curve. And so the S curve is used to show how technology gets adopted into markets. And it basically says, for however long it takes for us to get 10% adoption, in the same and equal amount of time, we will see 90% adoption. So as a small example, Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been around for, call it 10, 12 years now.
Yeah, I think 12, 13
And so
years.
we're over 10% adoption. So that means in the next 10 years, we're going to see 90% adoption, right? AI is having exponential adoption. I don't know what the exact number is, but if I had to guess, it's trending pretty high for close to 10% of the market. And it's been around really since, call it 2020, 2021, it's really adopted. So that's insane growth. So if you kind of time those two things up, you say, okay, It's going to take about 5 years for us to get 10% adoption. That means we'll get 90% adoption in the next 5 years, which is the same timeline when these boomers are stepping out.
Right.
And so the world of business is changing drastically, and you can either adapt or die.